So chapter 261 is translated and out for JJK, and on Wednesday I saw a slight bit of a panel and I knew, okay, let me stop scrolling social media for a little bit. But now the chapter's out, and this is probably the most split I felt about a chapter in a while. The chapter itself was nowhere near bad, but the content within it kind of just leaves me, we'll just say, hoping for the best. So before I get into the details of the chapter, I do want to give my opinion on the idea of Gojo himself coming back, which technically didn't happen. I've said before, I hated the idea of Gojo resurrecting himself or getting healed and brought back on multiple occasions, and I wanted him to die in the Sukuna fight because it just does way more for the overall story. And the characters themselves also benefit rather than Gojo just winning and the series is over. Narratively, honestly, that's fucking stupid. If you want him to beat Sukuna, and try to make a narrative decision as to why that should be a thing. Albeit, if you like Gojo more than Sukuna and you wanted him to win, that's different. But ever since 236, people were waiting or hoping for a true Gojo return, and I have one question for everybody that wanted or theorized for him to come back. Who does that benefit at the end of the day? I'll answer for you. Absolutely no one. If he came back in the middle of this fight that featured growth from his students and other supporting characters that's developed great character development or character conclusions, it would have soiled a lot about this arc. The character that would have suffered the most from a Gojo return would be Yuji. Yuji, ever since Gojo lost, has been the highlight of every chapter he's involved in because he's either developing in power or he's having a great character moment that's defining everything he's been through since the beginning of the series. And after the dumb shit people have said about Yuji and him as a main character, why the hell do you want someone to take his moment that has been built up since chapter 1? In general, it would have made every character who's been training not named Gojo to look worse near the end of the series, and also JJK as a series needs respect for keeping its stakes, and death has been a core theme of this sword, and it's been used too good just to be washed away like that. Now let's get into the current events. Gojo has stitches above his head. Now part of me was kinda hoping it was Kenjaku randomly, just so I can see what we would have done with Gojo's body and how Sukuna would react to that. I feel like that would have been hilarious. Plus me being bitter about how Kenjaku went out, but it doesn't hurt as much considering Todo gave Yuta an assist in lopping off Kenjaku's dome piece. But Rika has eaten Kenjaku and Yuta's body is now swapped into Gojo's body. Now the explanation of how he's able to do this was damn near perfect. If anyone has an issue with that, just tell him to read, don't explain it too much to him.
Read, nigga, read!
Honestly, the best part of this was Yuta and the aspect of losing his humanity. We know earlier with the Hikari and Urame fight that losing your humanity and becoming a monster is what's needed to evolve, especially if you want to reach or beat someone like Sukuna. Hikari even respects Yuta for going to those lengths in order to get the job done. I guess we now know what this whole reference was when he was talking about Yuta at the fight. This has been a reoccurring theme with JJK that has always been tied to Gojo more than anyone, even doing a flashback to Gojo right before he killed the higher ups. And then especially in the hidden inventory and Shibuya arc, I love the call back to the ghetto conversation because it's like both their bodies were used as a tool of war post-death. Kinda crazy to think about that. It even plays into that question of Ghetto wondering why Gojo isn't as assertive or logical in using his power no matter the circumstance. Always bringing up the question, are you strong because you're Satoru Gojo, or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? But now we're kind of getting something a little kind of similar to that. With Yuta and Gojo's body, Yuta is in desperation mode. This plan isn't even surefire because after 5 minutes, Yuta could die or who knows what could happen. I mean, maybe it pays off. The whole conversation of the group being against Yuta doing it was very eye-opening, except for Hikari, who was pretty much the only one who kind of looked at the idea as if you're gonna do it as a last-ditch effort. And it was also eye-opening because this was all Yuta's idea, and he was all for it, especially after Gojo basically said he doesn't care what they do with his body because he doesn't expect to die, which, boy, that did not age well. And it's nice seeing Yuta was the main one that looked at it from Gojo's perspective, that he shouldn't be the only one turning into this monster for Jujutsu Society, and we put all that burden on him. And that he'll be the one step into that position to replace Gojo if no one else feels the same or wants to step up. This whole flashback in general had this ominous vibe around it, which I feel was purposeful for this moment. Also, Shoko's stance on all of this has been very subtle. She does care about the people around her, but because the life of a sorcerer has never been one that's easy to handle, she's never shown to be against or for an idea. She kind of just keeps a neutral stance on it. Basically, whatever works, and she'll help if needed. The 2 pages on this flashback page speaks for itself, with the eyes open after suturing Gojo's body together and closed eyes taking off the mask after Yuta said he was ready to swap. As for my feelings on this whole thing, I'm like 60-40. 60% skeptical and 40% I kind of like it. Chapter 262 is really going to be the final verdict on how I feel about it, considering most of this was a flashback. However, visually, I'm not that happy seeing Gojo's body back in of itself, but I let it cook. I think Gege did a great job explaining all of this, but I don't know, I feel a certain type of way if Yuta, I don't know if he'll deliver the final blow. I think he'll weaken Sukuna even more, especially at the last page of this, but I'm really kind of mixed on it. As much as I'm really enjoying this Yuji and Todo stuff, I don't think I really needed a Gojo type of, semi-return like this, especially with Yuta taking over the body. It is a great in character moment because Yuta, this is probably the most he's ever done in terms of something that's, I guess, out of character form, but it's in character as in terms of, how a sorcerer will go about something that's pretty much desperation and dangerous as this whole thing with Sukuna. Now, as for Sukuna's side of things, I just love when Sukuna gets all like basically high as hell on battle like this. Typically, it leads to him coming out good on his side, especially considering he's now acknowledged Yuta even more because he went this far. And if we know anything about Sukuna, when he acknowledges you, typically something bad is going to happen to you. Look at Maki, look at Gojo, look at Higuruma, look at damn near everybody he's ever killed. And the only way to counter Sukuna's open domain is by Gojo's hands yet again. And Yuta and Sukuna do a domain clash. Unlimited Void against Malevolent Shrine yet again. But this double spread page is raw as fuck. This is legit one of the best panels in the entire series. I love how this looks. And they both are doing a little cross finger domain expansion. Sukuna with his, I guess, we'll just call it modified hybrid domain expansion against whatever Yuta's is, because I'm really curious as to how powerful this could be, considering it's not Gojo himself doing his Unlimited Void. I'm very curious again as to how Gege is going to play this out, because this could either be very bad or very good. How ironic of Gege to gamble with his own series. Sukuna is still operating off of a little black flash, so there's no telling how strong his domain will be also. So it's really up in the air as to what we're going to get. And is Yuta even capable of shifting the whole domain and changing the coordinates and changing the size like Gojo was? Just more questions after we already got some answers. One thing this chapter definitely did for me was raise my respect for Yuta as a character, because this is a bold ass move for someone like him. But we have a break week, so we got a week to let this sit. Gege, I need you to hit the jackpot on this one. You already know the drill. Like, comment on how you feel about the chapter below, and subscribe. I'll let y'all in the next one. Peace.